Hey guys, welcome to another video. In today's video, I'll be talking about my reading challenge for this year, the year of 2022. In Australia, we have a bookstore called Dimmicks. It's an independent, well, I wouldn't really say it's really, it is an independent bookseller. However, they're a pretty big book franchise store in Australia. So they're one of our biggest book chains in Australia. Anyway, every year Dimmicks does these reading challenges or reading goals for the year, and recently I came across the list. I usually don't do any of these sort of reading challenges. However, for this year I kind of felt like I wanted to give it a go. The list wasn't like a crazy long list either. However, also last year I barely made my reading challenge, which was like 20 books, and was it 25 books, and I kind of failed that reading challenge. So I'm not particularly a fast reader, so having 20 books on this list might be a little bit too much. We'll see, but I did want to tackle some of these reads because some of the books I have planned for this reading challenge I've owned for quite a few years now, and I really wanted to knock it off from my TBR pile. So I thought that this reading challenge was a good opportunity to choose a variety of books that I've been meaning to read for a long time now, and newer releases that I'm keen on reading as well. So without further ado, let's get on straight to the Dimmicks reading challenge for 2022. I just have the list on my phone, but I will put an image up here and I'll go through each reading challenge with you guys and just show you the books that I've chosen for these particular reading challenges. So we're gonna start off with the first one, which is Bought It for the Cover. The book that I've chosen is this gorgeous edition of The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and this book in particular could have been chosen for a few of the reading challenges, but I decided this edition that I recently bought was solely bought for the cover. Like, this edition is so pretty. This edition, it's so beautiful, and like the back. So definitely when it comes to just a cover buy, this is the one that I would choose because I literally bought it for the cover. And also, The Song of Achilles has been everywhere for a few years now. The Song of Achilles has been such a popular book in the book community, so this is definitely one that I've been wanting to read. I think I was more interested in Circe, but I decided I wanted to read this one first and just see how I like it. I've heard that Madeline Miller's writing style is beautiful and lyrical. Also, I love a good mythology retelling. Even though it was a cover buy, it is a book that I've been wanting to tackle for a long time now, so I can't wait to get into this one. This edition is just gorgeous. Hopefully this is going to be a 5-star read. I am very curious about it, so there you go. The next reading challenge is trending on #BookTok. Now, I'm not someone that uses TikTok, so I'm not too sure which books are on BookTok, but I quickly googled and I think this next book that I have is, I could have said The Song of Achilles because I definitely know that that was a popular book on BookTok, but I think this one might be, and it's The House in the Cerulean Sea, and this is by TJ Klune. I've heard so many good things about this book, and this could also be categorized under a few of the titles in this reading challenge as well, but I decided to put it as the BookTok challenge. And I recently purchased this from a Lunar crate. It's the beautiful edition with the sprayed edges, absolutely gorgeous, and inside, so pretty. I've heard that this is a really wholesome read, and positive energy is something that I need in 2022 because the last 2 years have been an absolute disaster. If anything, at least I will have this feel-good read that could warm my heart and help me be in a relatively positive mood, I hope. But yes, I've heard such beautiful and wonderful things about this book in particular, and yes, this edition just makes me so happy as well. I hope I love this book as much as a lot of people in the book community. Aside from a few little controversies, I've heard overall very positive things about this. I can't wait to dive right into it, and a wholesome book is what I need at the moment. So yes. The next challenge is read a book with an illustrated cover. The book I've chosen for this challenge is Godsgrave by Kristoff. Now this is a book that I have been meaning to pick up for a while now, ever since I've read Nevernight. I was a big fan of it. I know that Nevernight doesn't jive well with everyone. It has definitely gotten mixed reviews from what I've seen. However, I personally really enjoyed it. I love a good assassin story. It definitely has a darker version of that typical kind of magical school setting because it's full of assassins, and basically the school, magical school, it's not really a school, but it's like a place where they train assassins, and it's a revenge tale. And if you know me, I love a good revenge tale, and so far I've loved the kind of world and the somewhat magical system that isn't really explored as much, and I'm hoping that we get more into the magic of the world, because from the first book what they've introduced are very interesting elements to the magic of the world, and so I am super keen on seeing these characters develop and the adventure, or should I say the revenge quest, go further. I am really excited to dive right in. I've heard that Godsgrave is most people's favorite book in the series, so I've got high hopes for it, and of course the cover of this is just beautiful. This is probably my favorite cover out of the 3 books in the series because I love wolves, and so I love the fact that this one has a wolf on it. Yes, I love the illustrative design on this book series, and so I do want to continue on with this series as well. So there you go. The next challenge is read a book that is a friend's favorite. I don't have a lot of friends in my real life who read books. However, there is a book that one of my close friends was reading last year or the year before. I think last year. I don't remember if she actually enjoyed it or not. I think she did, but that book was actually recommended by her other friend. It's like a friend of a friend's recommendation. It is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine, and this is by Gail, Honeyman, and this has been a book that has been relatively beloved in the book community, but I never got a chance to read it. I'm a bit late on the bandwagon with this one. It is a book that I've been wanting to pick up for a while because I've owned it for over 2 years. I think it's been like 3, maybe 4. When was this even published? Definitely think it's been well over 3 years since I've had this book, so it's about time I pick it up. Absolutely beautiful. Read a book that is otherworldly. I'm really excited for this book because it is a book that I did start last year. However, I never finished it, and that is Dune by Frank Herbert. I recently watched the newest adaptation of Dune, which is directed by Denis Villeneuve, one of my favorite directors. It was absolutely a stunning experience, and if anything, that movie took me to another world, and from what I've read so far, it does feel very otherworldly. And now that I've seen the movie, I'm gonna kind of have a mesh between what I imagine and what I've seen in the movie, which might not be the best thing ever because I do like to separate movie adaptations with my own imagination. This world is so dense and complex, but it's something that I've really been enjoying so far, but I do need to like just sit down and read through this in relatively a short span of time, because it is something that if I'm reading very slowly, I do lose track of what's going on. I did know that I would struggle with this, and I did buy the audiobook as well to help me listen and read through it together. It also helps me know the pronunciations of some of the words in this book. Hopefully I do get to read this in its entirety before part 2 comes out, because if anything, I am so pumped for that movie. It's gonna be amazing. I just know it. Dune is a masterpiece in science fiction. It's a classic for a reason. I can't wait to dive back into this world and really enjoy it in its entirety. So definitely it is a goal, it is a mission to finish this book. I'm putting it on my reading challenge because I do want to get it read. Right, the next book in this reading challenge is read a book inspiring change. I have many books that I could have chosen for this, but the book that I eventually chose was one that I particularly wanted to read this year, and it is Minor Feelings by Cathy Park Hong. This is something that I personally could relate to a lot. I think this book does tackle racism when it comes to Asians. It's more about the subtle microaggressions that Asians face on the daily. I'm hoping to really love this book. I've heard really good things about it. Also, I'm not a big reader of non-fiction, so this is going to be quite interesting. I feel like non-fiction is an area that I've really wanted to dive back into. So this year I'm going to start off with Minor Feelings and see if I get into the rhythm of reading more non-fiction, because I feel like there's a lot of different topics out there that I need to be educated on. So yes, this is one that I've been wanting to read for a while. I think I did pick this book up last year but never got around to reading it, so definitely want to pick it up and read it this year. So there we go. Minor Feelings. Have you read it? Let me know what your feelings are on this book. I hope that the year of 2022 will open me up with more non-fiction, but we shall see. The next book is read a book that is a love story. If you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of romance, so I did think that this would be quite challenging. However, I did pick up one book last year, and it is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I've heard so many good things about this book. It has been one of the most highly recommended romance reads in the book community, so I definitely wanted to pick it up, and I thought, why not read it in 2022? I feel like every year I should pick up from the romance genre every now and then, because every time I do read from this genre, I do end up enjoying it. It's just not something that I constantly want. I like a bit more fantasy and adventure rather than romance, but when I do, I enjoy it. This is basically a hate to love relationship, and it's about two people that work in a publishing industry, and they're kind of rivals because they're both wanting this promotion. That's all I know about it. I've seen people rave about it, so we'll see if I end up liking it. I hope I do, because I've heard such good things about it that I don't want to be disappointed. The Hating Game. Have you read it? Let me know what you think. The next book on my reading challenge, or Dimix's reading challenge, read a book that is the start of a series. And the book that I've chosen has been a book that I've been meaning to read again for the longest time. It is Sabriel by Garth. I think I've had this book for years now, half a decade or more. Garth is quite a famous author in Australia. Well, he's famous all around globally, but he is an Australian author, and I've actually met him, so yes, he's someone that I definitely want to support. I think I've seen him twice or 3 times already at like book events, and all 3 times he's been an amazing, just chill dude, and so I definitely want to pick up Sabriel because I think this series is one of his more famous series. This is a start of one of his series, like a necromancy series, and it just sounds really cool, unique and imaginative, like the world of necromancy. I don't know much about it. I'm intrigued by the magic of this world, and I just want to dive right into it. Hopefully we'll get to it in 2022. If anything, please Carolyn, read Sabriel, because you really needed to knock it off your TBR. Moving on to the next reading challenge, it is read a classic. I could have chosen a few things, but I decided this is the book that I wanted to read. I think it's considered a modern classic, which is still a classic, so it is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This is by Kesey. I think I wanted to read it because I wanted to watch the movie adaptation. I've always been interested in reading One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This just seems like a crazy story, but also humorous, but also very kind of disturbing. All I know is that it's set in a mental institution, and I heard that the main villain is a nurse, which makes me very makes me feel things because I'm a nurse. I hope this is just a very stereotyped depiction. Hopefully the nurse is very over the top, because I don't want nurses getting a bad rap, okay? However, I believe that this is more of a humorous novel, so I'm very curious. Clearly I don't know too much about it, but I'm hoping to be blown away. Here's to hoping that I love this book. Moving on to the next challenge, it is read a book that is by an Australian author. Hashtag read Australian. Now that is definitely something that I need to do more of. The book that I've chosen for this reading challenge in particular, I did end up picking it up last year during lockdown. I do remember this. It is a poetry collection. So I ended up choosing Whisper Songs by Tony Birch. Tony Birch is an Indigenous author. Definitely was curious about it. And also this cover just intrigues me greatly. I honestly don't know much about it, so I chose it for this challenge. The next reading challenge is read a book you keep seeing. This is The Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy, and this is by, of course, Brandon Sanderson. I really don't need to say more about Mistborn or The Final Empire. I feel like by now everyone knows about it, and I'm like the only person who hasn't read it. Basically, the story is set in a world where there is this Dark Lord who has been ruling over the world for like 1,000 years, and I believe there is a ragtag group of rebels that are trying to take down the Dark Lord, and the series has this cool magic system with ingesting metals, giving people like different powers depending on which metals they ingest, and I've just wanted to read this one forever now. Like, I'm pretty sure it's been over a decade. It's been over a decade since I've wanted to read this, and I've never gotten around to it, so shame on me. Definitely want to read this one in 2022. Will I do it? I guess we'll see. Let's see if I enjoy it. I hope I do, because this is such a beloved series, and I just hope that I love it just as much as everyone else. All I hear is good things, but I don't want to hype myself up too much, but I hear it's really good, so we'll see. Read a book with a number in the title. The one that I have is a book that I've needed to read for the longest time, and it is 1984 by George Orwell. This edition is just so cool and so pretty. You know what's funny is that the cover doesn't actually have a number on it, but we do have 1984 on the spine. It's a book that I've wanted to read for so long now, and George Orwell, you know, he's a beloved author. I really hope I get to it. We'll see. I know myself, and I don't really particularly dive towards classics a lot, but this is a dystopian fiction which would for the most part intrigue me a lot. But yes, it's been one that has been really hard. I feel like this is a book that is so relevant in today's society because it is about censorship. This concept is super relevant, which is kind of scary because this is a dystopian world, and are we living in a dystopian world right now? Who knows? It could go down that route. Let's see if I get to it this year. The next reading challenge is reread a favorite book. I wanted to dive back into a world that was more of a comfort read, because if anything, I feel like this is the year that I need more comfort than usual. I think it's just gonna get harder this year. For some reason, that's just the vibe that I get. I hope that I'm wrong, but I just feel like I'm not gonna have a good year. So I chose Cinder by Marissa Meyer. The Lunar Chronicles is a comfort read series for me. It's one of my favorite YA series. I ended up picking up this new paperback edition. This copy is just so beautiful. The Lunar Chronicles has been a series that I've been meaning to reread, so I thought that this year would be a good year to start with Cinder again. Yes, I am super excited to dive back into this world. Let's see if via the reread I love it as much as I did when I first read the series, because it's been a while. It's been a few years since I've read Cinder, so I want to see if my feelings are still the same. Hopefully I love it still, because this is such a beloved series from me personally, and I don't want this to be a disappointment because this is supposed to be a comfort read. We're slowly making it down the list. The next reading challenge is read a book from where you'd rather be. The book that I've chosen is a personal one because I remember buying it in France at Shakespeare & Co, and that is The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbary. I've heard such lovely things about this book in particular. This book is set in Paris, I believe. Yes. It just makes me wish that I was back in France. I know that I probably won't be going back there for many years now. Maybe in about half a decade I will be back in France, but I just remember loving France. I did really like Paris, but I think more of the countrysides of France were more lovely. in my opinion. And if ever I go back, I definitely want to explore more of the southern parts of France. I miss Europe in general, but France, somewhere that I definitely want to go again. And I would rather be there right now, which, you know, I can't be, but hopefully reading this book will transport me back to the streets of Paris. This is a book that follows a girl who's a concierge at this grand apartment, and I think she's like somewhat socially awkward. I think she just pretends to be ignorant because she doesn't want to talk to anyone, whilst underneath she is cultured and she loves the arts and whatnot. And I assume she becomes friends with one of the people living in the apartment. That's all I'm getting, but it is a book that I've seen being recommended numerous times in the book community, and I've heard that it's just such a lovely read. This has been stamped by the Shakespeare and Company bookstore and I am proud of that. Definitely take me back to Paris. We're almost at the end, guys. The next reading challenge is read an adventure book. I have chosen this has the longest title ever. It is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. This is by Catherine M. Valente, and I've had this book for a very long time and I've never read it. Am I ashamed of myself? Yes, a little bit. It is a book that has been beloved in this community for a while. Definitely gives me kind of Alice in Wonderland vibes. I heard it's very whimsical. It is something that I wanted to dive into, and I think it would give me a sense of that childhood adventure. I thought that this would be the perfect read, so I chose this as my adventure book. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint, because I've heard such good things about this book, and I heard Catherine M. Valente is a beautiful writer, so we shall see. The next challenge is read a feel-good book, and that I have chosen Heidi by Joanna Spiri. This edition just makes me happy, but I also was recommended this by a friend of mine. This is one that is set in the Swiss Alps, I'm pretty sure. Just the setting alone, beautiful. If anywhere, I'd rather be here as well. I definitely heard that this is a very feel-good read, and so I've wanted to read this for a while, and oh my gosh, can you see this little sprout thing? This is like a bookmark that I've had in there for like the longest time. Even the quote on the back: Heidi looked around with growing delight at the mountain peaks she knew so well and which seemed to greet her like old friends. That's so cute. I honestly don't need to know much about this book. I just remember my friend recommending it like many years ago. I think she said that this was her favorite classic. It has been sitting on my bedside table for like the longest time. It was dusty and I haven't read it, so shame on me. But hopefully I get it read in 2022. The next reading challenge is read a book released this year. I don't have a copy of this book, but I will add the image here. It's got a gorgeous cover on it. It is called The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, and this is by Axio. Let's be real, I'm probably gonna pick it up solely for the cover art. However, it is a fantasy, and from what I read on the Goodreads synopsis, it's got pretty dire stakes. It just sounds like a magical time. It deals with kind of mythological gods, and it just sounds amazing and beautiful. That is a 2022 release, and so definitely is under this category. We're gonna move on. Read an award winner book. The book that I have here is This One Summer. This is by Gillian Tamaki and Makio Tamaki, and as you can see on the cover, it's got 2 awards. It is also a graphic novel, as you can see. Very beautiful, and typically I feel like graphic novels are like black and white, but it's interesting that this one has a blue color scheme. I'm not too sure what it's about because I bought this again. I bought this book quite a long time ago, so shame on me, but it just seems like a slice of life kind of story, a coming of age story. Am I right? Am I wrong? We shall see. But it just looks beautiful, and why do I get the feeling that it might be a little sad? The next reading challenge is read a First Nations author. The book that I've chosen, I don't have a physical copy of. I probably will pick it up sometime this year, but it is The Only Good Indians, and that is by Stephen Graham Jones. He's an American Indigenous author. If I'm not mistaken, it's a horror novel, and it kind of mixes folklore with modern day. And like I said, it's under the horror genre, so it intrigues me greatly. And a few booktubers that I follow have talked about this book in particular and have really liked it, so it just makes me pumped to read it. We're up to the last reading challenge for the Dimmicks reading challenge of 2022, and it is read a Dimmicks book of the month. I wanted to just choose a book that I already own. It is Sally Rooney's new book, Beautiful World, Where Are You? First of all, such a pretty cover, like hello. Honestly, I wanted to read some of Sally Rooney's other books first, but I don't know. I've heard very mixed things about Sally Rooney's other books, particularly Normal People and Conversations with Friends. I think both of them have gotten very mixed reviews, so the thing is I own both of those books too, but let's go with this one first because I honestly haven't heard a lot about this book in particular as of yet, so I wanted to give it a go and see for myself, and then if I end up liking it, I will probably pick up Sally Rooney's other books regardless of what people say. And also I wanted to watch the show adaptation of Normal People because I've heard that that show is really good, and people say that the show is better than the book, which kind of makes me a little sad. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so these are the books of 2022. This is my giant stack of Dimmicks' reading challenge. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna put this down. Amazingly, I didn't drop any of those books. Anyway, like I was saying, those were the books on my reading challenge for 2022 via the Dimmicks challenge list. Are you guys also challenging yourself with certain reads? Let me know what your reading goals are. Hope you all are staying safe and sound and happy reading, guys. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!